and they are like, confused whether am I taking the right person. This is where we that investment of the organization is very, very important, because we have to put a lot of investment on training and, employee retention and all that. And after all that, if they're going to wave, bye-bye, because Gen Z, how they are switching organizations just like that.
Right.
So it's very important that we choose the right person. And one more topic here we need to really touch upon is personality fit.
Right.
Because we know about the skills aspect and non-technical, but then how about the personality? Imagine an introvert, going for a salesman job.
Right.
He is going to be drained, and his performance is going to be definitely going for a toss. If at all, for the personality fit and also the culture fit.
Right.
What organization has the personality of the organization is after often they use the term culture for the personality, like how a personality of a person, personality of the organization. So if you could choose someone who will fit into your organization, the chances are more that he would stay, and their retention and turnover rate, all that headache won't be there. If you're able to use the scientific matrices to choose people, like you said, excellent, that behavior interviewing, because after all we can only see the observable behaviors.
Absolutely, yes.
So that only, I think the psychologist can play the role to actually delineate and bring out the thing and find out whether he's the one. And also for development programs also. A lot of in maritime field, I see people whenever they get promoted, they have to undergo rigorous program on all evaluation methods with psychometric assessment and interviews and behavioral observation to see whether they are actually having all the KSA factors needed for their role in future.
Absolutely.
So why this change is coming in those time people will be telling, we didn't use these kind of things because the resources were enormous, and but then you didn't have much kind of demand supply, things were different, but now it is so different. So we have to evolve and use this kind of practices to make your work more smarter.
Absolutely. And one differentiation that I see in the market or in the industry is it's always about why an MSc psychology person versus an MBA person. All right. So MBAs are really smart in getting the projects done. So let's say if you give a task, if you give a job to them, they'll be excellently completing it. But somewhere psychologists can deep dive and understand. Let's take hiring as an example. So it's not just about generating a report, right? You need to really read through and see what are the highs and lows of a person, and is this person capable of learning? Is this person capable of training? If I train this person, can he or she
the
survive?
Underlying personality can be only decoded by psychologists.
So that can be done through BI and other one of the best practices that we have in recruitment. So the first scope, recruitment, is huge. And if you really want to work in, if the recent people or younger generation people, if you want to take up recruitment as a challenging area, it's absolutely challenging, and you have a lot of scope to grow. So I think that is my observation as an industry expert.
Yes. So we dwell deep into this recruitment. So what are the other roles we could discuss about? The next thing.
Absolutely, ma'am. So in my point of view, I think the major contribution of psychologists comes into two very, very important and pivotal areas of organizations. One is learning and development, or training and development those days. And the second, most important component is all about talent management and talent development. So these are interlinked here. So when it comes to learning and development, if I see, you can see a lot of people who train, technical skills, functional skills, or even language skills. Those are very, very essential for a person to be successful at a job. But at the same time, coming back to square one, does this person have the right set of behaviors to succeed in the particular job or given role? And that's where our behavioral training and leadership training comes into the play. So you see this transition of a person who is joining as a fresher, and after 2-3 years going through the complete process and going through the a set of trainings, let's say communication, decision making, problem solving, execution excellence. There are multiple competencies that every organization addresses, and in today's world, all the organizations are aligning their training programs or aligning their learning programs to the competency and the functional competencies what they have. And it is very important for a psychologist to play a very huge role when it comes to behavioral training and leadership training, because the concept. It's leadership training or behavioral training is not just the training, I would say, because it's a combination of training. At times you need to do group counseling. At times you will also be doing group coaching.
Coaching,
So
yes.
yeah, that interaction matters a lot because people come up with n number of problems here, especially to behavioral training programs. When a psychologist stands there, when a psychologist is going to be a facilitator of that particular program, they can actually explain the science behind their perception, their actions, their behaviors, whatever it is. And if it is a real problem, they can also solution it. I think as a psychologist, you can play a very, very valid role or very...
It's grounded in a lot of scientific theories. And,
absolutely, yes.
Because if you take a superficial look, you can talk about some acronyms like GROW, this, that and all that, but then they'll be taking only that, the tip of the iceberg they could
absolutely,
see.
yes.
But the depth only can be seen, by people like us, where we can go deep dive into it and
absolutely.
see why they behave the way they behave, what's stopping them, and a lot of self-reflection and self-awareness. That's the first step to coaching.
True that.
So when we look into leaders, first thing is, okay, I'm very experienced and what more we can give. But then when we go deep into that, it's like, as you said, in organizational context, counseling is coaching now. So coaching is coming with a different, perspective. You're going to look into it and be with them until the action phase ends and to see whether they are actually meeting that objective.
Absolutely,
and
yes.
a small change in that can bring about a big amount of results.
True.
A leadership change can bring about a great difference actually in the team and on the effectiveness of the team. The entire organization can actually benefit for this kind of small changes.
Absolutely. So more often what I see or what I observe is, ma'am, so here we play a role of a facilitator here.
Yes.
They know everything. The point is you need to make them to become grounded and see things in different perspectives. And that's what happens in leadership development often.
True.
So we help them to reflect on their own behavior. Is it giving them results? Is it sustainable? And is there any change required? So I think psychologists can go deeper and understand the beliefs towards certain behaviors and understanding what is the thought process behind. And we can do a lot in
like, we are applying even CBT therapy there in that context to change the rigid behaviors and why it is, still, maintaining there and bringing about, negativity and, conflicts. If you see, certain pattern of behavior will keep happening in a department, certain patterns.
Right.
So when we look into it, there is one particular weakness or areas of development of that leader is bringing up this often.
Right.
So when we target that and change that, we can see, a lot of people may not leave. We say, no, people don't leave organization, they leave managers.
Right.
So that employee retention can happen with the right amount of training and coaching. So nowadays, as you rightly said, T&D is no more the L&D.
Right.
It's about learning and, more positive about self-learning and how we can improve that learning culture in any organization.
Absolutely,
So by again competency mapping and to see the KSA factors, knowledge, skills and attitude, where they have the gap, all this kind of extensive work, we can do and make sure at any given role, people who are deserving and who have all the right skills, technical as well as non-technical skills, if they're going to do with the right attitude, and absolutely the whole organization is going to benefit.
Absolutely, yes, ma'am. And again, the third most important area to explore, talent management and development, this is what we spoke. Identifying the high potential in the organization. I think that's where a lot of organizations struggle. So I know all these people are talented. None of them are like, poor performers or something. But how do I identify the high potential? So that's where role of psychologist comes in. So here we use multiple methods. It's not just a psychometric assessment. We don't just go by one particular tool. We do case study, we do BEI, we do CBI at times, we do role plays, we do a lot of case analysis and other things. And again,